Dear pirates, there's a human on this ship. For your safety, kindly pick a different target. Beginning. The message appeared on every pirate frequency within 20 light years. It was short, blunt, and cryptic. Dear pirates, there's a human on this ship. For your safety, kindly pick a different target. At first, most dismissed it as some kind of joke. Out in the Vega Drift, warnings were never polite. Captains broadcasted threats. Mercenaries flaunted their kill counts, and smugglers bluffed with phantom escorts. But this message was different. Its calmness was unsettling, almost insulting, like a bartender warning you not to touch the hot sauce, because it might actually kill you. The Aurora Dusk, a mid-sized cargo freighter, was the origin of the transmission. Nothing unusual about it, just another corporate supply ship moving minerals between colonies. Its hull bore no heavy cannons, no scorch marks, no mercenary insignias. From the outside, it looked like the kind of vessel pirates loved. Fat, slow, and filled with goods. Yet, as Captain Rob of the pirate ship Broken Fong circled the freighter, the message echoed again on open comms. Dear pirates, there's a human on this ship. For your safety, kindly pick a different target. Rava scowled. A human? What kind of ridiculous threat is that? Her second in command, a scaled Zeran with golden eyes, flicked his tail nervously. Captain, I've heard rumors. They say humans, they're dangerous. Not like us. Rava laughed, showing her fanged teeth. Dangerous? It's just a soft-bodied ape species from the old Sol system. They eat plants and breathe thin air. How dangerous could one be? But her crew didn't laugh. Silence rippled across the bridge. The middle, the legend of humans. The galaxy was vast, with thousands of intelligent species spread across spiral arms and nebulas. Most knew of humans, but few had ever met one. The Terran expansion had collapsed centuries ago, when Earth grew inward-looking and abandoned deep space ventures. Out here, on the frontier, humans were little more than myths. Whispers traveled in hushed voices. Humans could survive in toxic atmospheres for minutes that would kill others instantly. Their bodies produced strange chemicals during stress, allowing feats no physiology could match. They fought like cornered animals, relentless, unpredictable, and most terrifying of all, humans bonded. Once they considered you family, they would kill whole fleets to protect you. No pirate captain ever wanted to test those stories, but most thought them exaggerated, until the Aurora Dusk repeated its chilling warning. Aboard the Aurora Dusk, the human in question sat quietly in the mess hall, sipping from a mug of lukewarm tea. His name was Daniel Kepler, though the crew called him Dan. He had joined the freighter 6 months ago, working as an engineer. To most of the crew, he seemed harmless, polite, hard-working, even a little shy. But when pirates had attacked their convoy 2 months earlier, Dan had calmly walked into the engine bay, rerouted power, and single-handedly fried 3 boarding crafts by overloading their docking clamps. No hesitation, no remorse, just cold precision. The crew never forgot the screams across the comms as the pirates were burned alive in their own cockpits. Now, as another group of raiders shadowed them, Captain Leroy of the Aurora Dusk sighed and broadcasted the warning message once again. He didn't do it to protect Dan. He did it to protect the pirates. Because when humans fought, they didn't always stop when the enemy surrendered. Pirates closing in. Captain Rava ignored the warning. Pride wouldn't allow her to back down in front of her crew. She ordered boarding hooks to extend. But then something unusual happened. 3 other pirate vessels, circling like vultures, broke away. They disengaged thrusters, turned tail, and left without a word. Rava's crew exchanged nervous glances. Why would rival raiders abandon such a ripe target? Unless they believed the warning. Unless they knew what a human was. Prepare to breach. Rava barked, masking her doubt. The boarding clamps latched onto the freighter's hull. Sparks flew as welders carved through the airlock. Rava led the charge, plasma rifle in hand. The corridors were eerily quiet. No alarms, no blaring sirens. Just the steady hum of engines. Her crew fanned out, searching for resistance. They found none. Then, from the shadows of the mess hall, Dan stood, just a man in worn coveralls, holding nothing but a wrench. Please, he said, voice calm. Leave now. The pirates laughed. A single unarmed human? This was a big threat? Dan set his mug of tea down. I don't want to hurt you. Rava sneered. You think we fear an ape? Dan sighed, and then he moved. The human unleashed. What happened next would be retold in pirate dens across the Vega Drift for years. Dan closed the distance between himself and the nearest raider in less than a second, wrench snapping the pirate's arm at an unnatural angle. Before the scream could escape, Dan's boot crushed the raider's knee, sending him sprawling. The others fired plasma bolts, but Dan was already rolling, grabbing a fallen blaster and returning fire with terrifying accuracy. 3 shots, 3 kills. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't trained military precision. It was raw animal ferocity, guided by instincts honed to millennia of survival on a predator-filled world. Rava fired a rifle, but Dan didn't flinch as the bolt grazed his shoulder. Instead, he rushed her, ignoring the pain, and slammed her against a bulkhead with strength far greater than his size suggested. His eyes burned not with malice, but with a terrifying focus. "You were warned," he whispered. By the time the surviving raiders scrambled back to their ship, half their crew was dead or incapacitated. Rava barely escaped with her life, a broken rib stabbing at her with every breath. As the boarding clamps detached, the Aurora Dusk calmly resumed its course. And Dan, he picked up his tea, took a sip, and winced. It had gone cold. The rumor spreads. Within days, every pirate channel in the Vega Drift carried the tale. Some said the human tore through armored raiders with bare hands. Others claimed he ripped weapons apart like toys. The details blurred, but the message was clear. Do not raid a ship carrying a human. The warning message in the Aurora Dusk was copied, parroted, and spread like wildfire. Dear pirates, there's a human on this ship. For your safety, kindly pick a different target. Soon, freighters began hiring humans not as engineers or technicians, but as living deterrents. One human aboard a vessel was worth more than a dozen automated turrets. Dan himself didn't ask for fame. He just wanted to fix engines, drink tea, and watch old Earth films. But everywhere he went, eyes followed him. Whispers trailed in his wake. And when pirates scanned his ship, they almost always turned away. Almost always. The climax. Months later, a new pirate warlord rose in the drift. Captain Vorik, a hulking insectoid whose armor-plated species feared nothing. He scoffed at the human legend. A single 8 cannot frighten the mighty Vorik. He set his sights on the Aurora Dusk. When the warning broadcast played, Vorik roared with laughter. This is the infamous message. This is the terror of the drift. I will mount the human skull on my wall. His fleet of 5 ships descended upon the freighter. Boarding hooks bit deep into the hull. Hundreds of raiders poured in. This time, Dan did not fight alone. The crew of the Aurora Dusk, emboldened by his presence, stood with him. Engineers with makeshift weapons, cooks wielding cleavers, pilots brandishing pistols. They all rose in defense. Dan led them, moving through the chaos like a storm. He sabotaged Vorik's power cores, rerouted fuel lines into explosive traps, and fought hand-to-hand when necessary. Every move was decisive, ruthless. Vorik himself confronted Dan in the engine bay. Twice Dan's size, armored and chitin, wielding dual plasma axes. "You are no monster," Vorik sneered. "Just flesh and bone." Dan stared, bloody but unbroken. "And yet here I stand." The battle that followed shook the freighter. Sparks rained, metal screamed, and finally, with a desperate surge, Dan jammed his wrench into Vorik's thorax, twisting until the warlord collapsed. When the surviving raiders fled in panic, they carried a new story. Not just a human, but a human who had killed Vorik with nothing but grit, fury, and a wrench. Ending. The drift changed after that. No pirate dared approach a ship rumored to carry a human. Merchants began advertising human crew like holy wards. Now hiring certified Terran engineers. Cargo insured and guarded by human presence. Guaranteed safe passage, human aboard. And always at the heart of it, the original message echoed across the stars. Dear pirates, there's a human on this ship. For your safety, kindly pick a different target. As for Dan Kepler, he never sought glory nor riches. He kept fixing engines, sipping tea, and quietly protecting the friends he'd found among the stars. Because for humans, survival wasn't just instinct, it was a promise. And in the vast, dangerous galaxy, that promise was the most terrifying weapon of all.